Boeing's latest earnings report is, well, it's a real head-scratcher. The company is posting these soaring revenues that suggest a massive comeback. But hidden inside those same numbers is a multi-billion-dollar problem that just flips the whole story upside down. So what is really going on here? Let's get into it.
Okay, so here's the whole paradox in just two numbers. Boeing's revenue just shot up by over 30% in one quarter. I mean, that's a huge sign of recovery. But then, in that exact same quarter, they lost over $5 billion. So how can a company be soaring and sinking at the very same time?
And that's really the big question, isn't it? Is Boeing in the middle of this powerful comeback that just hit a bit of a speed bump, or are we actually seeing the signs of a much, much deeper crisis? To figure that out, we've got to look at both sides of this coin, and we're going to start with the good news.
All right, first up, let's talk about the recovery. Because honestly, if you just look at the headline numbers, it really looks like Boeing is firing on all cylinders.
$23.3 billion. That's what Boeing pulled in for a single quarter. Now, this wasn't just good. It totally smashed what most analysts were predicting. It's a really clear signal that after a few very tough years, airlines are back and they are buying planes like crazy.
And you can really see that momentum right here on this chart. We're looking at a jump from under $18 billion to over $23 billion in just 1 year. That's a 30% surge, and it's happening for one pretty simple reason. Boeing is finally delivering more planes. So let's look at those numbers.
And here it is, the number that's driving all that revenue. 160. That's how many commercial planes Boeing got out the door. Now, to put that in perspective for you, it's the most they've delivered in a single quarter since way back in 2018. It tells us their factory lines, which have been just plagued with issues, are finally starting to find a steady rhythm.
And this recovery isn't just a one-trick pony. Yeah, commercial airplanes made up the biggest slice, but look at the other parts of the business. Defense and services together brought in almost $12 billion. This shows some real balanced strength across the entire company, which makes the whole recovery story feel even more solid.
Now, let's talk about the future for a second. Boeing has a backlog of orders that is worth a staggering $636 billion. That's almost 6,000 commercial planes waiting to be built. It's an incredible safety net, It guarantees work for years to come. But, and this is a big but, only if they can actually build and deliver them.
$200 million. Okay, I know. It might not look like much next to those other huge numbers, but believe me, this is a big deal. For the first time in years, Boeing is actually generating more cash than it's spending. That is a critical sign that the business is finally getting healthier from the inside out. So, with all this good news, where's the catch?
And now for part two. This is where that awesome comeback story hits some pretty severe turbulence. One single problem is about to come in and pretty much erase all of that positive momentum.
So, despite all this amazing momentum, with the 737 and the 787, in defense, in services, one single program is creating just massive financial headaches.
$4.9 billion. That's the size of the financial hit Boeing just had to take. The best way to think of it is as an admission, right? The company is basically saying a future project is going to cost way more and earn way less than they'd planned. And this one accounting move completely wiped out all the quarter's gains, turning what could have been a profit into a massive loss.
So the culprit here is the 777X program. This is supposed to be Boeing's next-generation flagship plane, but it's now facing major delays in its certification process. And if regulators won't sign off on it, well, Boeing can't deliver it to the airlines, and that triggers a huge financial penalty.
And we are not talking about a small delay here. This timeline shows that the first delivery has been pushed back again and again and again. The new target is now 2027. That's years behind schedule. For what's supposed to be your star product, that is a huge problem.
So you've got this incredible recovery engine on one side, and this really expensive setback on the other. So what does this all mean for the path forward? How is Boeing supposed to navigate all this turbulence?
Well, this leaves investors in a really tough spot. I mean, on one hand, you've got that massive backlog and the improving cash flow, and that all signals a pretty bright future. But on the other hand, you've got the very real problems of the 777X delays, intense regulatory scrutiny, and a supply chain that's still pretty fragile. In response, Boeing's CEO is trying to project stability. The message is all about getting back to basics. Focus on safety, focus on quality, and just, get planes built and delivered on time. So, what concrete steps are they actually taking to do that?
Well, they're making some very real moves. First, they're stabilizing and then planning to increase production of their main cash cow, the 737. Second, they're trying to acquire a key supplier, Spirit Aerosystems, to get more control over their own supply chain. And third, they just keep locking in key defense contracts, which gives them a nice, stable foundation.
And so we end right back where we started, with the paradox. Boeing's future, on paper, looks incredible. The order book is full for years and years, but that entire future depends completely on whether they can fix the expensive, complicated problems they're facing right now. The comeback is real, but you know what? The crisis is too, and only one of them can win out in the end.